Hi, my name is Marcia McCants, and this is the assignment 2 Disability in Film assignment for SPE 500. Let me first say that this is my second recording. My first recording was so long that it stopped on my iPad. So I'm going to try to make sure that this is no longer than 7.5 to 8 minutes. I didn't know I could talk so much. Anyway, before I get to the questions, let me just say that I really enjoyed this assignment for a couple of reasons. I like the way that Dr. Gardner has differentiated instruction and has given us a choice. We can either respond to the video that we watch in a 7-page assignment or 7-minute video. I thank her for that option. Thank you, Dr. Gardner. Another thing that I really enjoyed is that before I even looked at the list of suggested videos, I just thought it would be some type of informational video that we had to watch about different disabilities, not really an actual movie that we would have to watch. So, and when I saw the list, some of the movies were very familiar, like Ray, The Soloist, Mr. Holland's Opus. I was like, oh, I've seen these, Forrest Gump. But of course, in this situation, to really get the most out of the class, I decided that I would definitely take on the true role of a student and to act as I would want my students to behave as well, or to do the things that I would want my students to do, what I expect of them. And that is to go above and beyond. So the video that I chose to view is not one that I've ever seen. It is nothing like I would ever watch. So I really stepped out of my comfort zone to watch the video. And the video that I chose is Kingdom of Heaven. It's historical fiction, even though it's based on facts, the Crusades. I am not a history person at all. So I had to do my research. I had to really think about what I was watching. And it was a very long video. It was almost 3 hours long. But I enjoyed it because it's something that, like I said, I wouldn't normally watch a video like this. So I stepped out of my comfort zone, and I'm going to do the best I can to answer the question. So the featured disability was Hansen's disease. Out of all the disabilities, you know, I know what autism is and deaf, blindness, but Hansen's disease, I really had to think about it. I had to say, what is that? And I looked it up. It's leprosy. Okay, so what did I already know about leprosy? The only thing I really knew about leprosy was that learning in Sunday school, people in the Bible, people had leprosy, they left them on the side of the road, nobody wanted to touch them, nobody wanted to interact with them. So that's all I really knew about leprosy, basically. Another thing that I know about leprosy is being a science teacher that it's a bacterial disease. It eats away at your skin. It eats your skin alive, basically. Oh, thank you. and so how would I describe my first impression of the character with disabilities? The character was King Baldwin IV. Now, in the last video that I made that was 16 minutes long, it was too long because I gave the entire plot of the movie because I wanted to show that I actually watched the movie and I did my research and I understood what was going on. So, can't do that in 7 to 8 minutes. But anyway, the king was a leper, and my first impression was, wow, we're not going to see his skin. It must be very bad. He was covered from head to toe and had a mask on his face. So we couldn't see him. We could see the outlines of his eyes, and I thought it was interesting how the makeup artist even made the insides of his eyes very, very red and made it look like he had a disease, even in his eyes. So just by looking at his eyes, you could see the pain, and you could see that he was very ill. So I thought it was very interesting. That was my first impression. Another first impression was, wow, he's a king. So not only does he have leprosy, but he's a king and he's a respected man. He was an honest man and he was a good man that had the well-being of the people in mind. That was the focus, is that to protect the people. Not selfish things, but to protect the people. So what happens to the character? He ends up dying from leprosy, not being killed because of war or anything else. My understanding of the character's disability, did it change? It did change, because when we hear about people with leprosy, especially to me, I always have to relate it back to Bible, because my knowledge of history is not strong. But I always think they don't want to be touched. I've never heard of anyone having leprosy a long time ago and being a king. So my view of the disability has changed. I thought that when you had leprosy a long time ago in the Bible days that nobody wanted to have anything to do with you and you were just shunned to the side. That was not the case in this video because this man was the king. He got leprosy at the age of 16. They didn't say that he got leprosy before or was the king before or after leprosy. That wasn't, I don't remember them saying, but I would think that he probably had leprosy, was the king before he had leprosy. Only because he was 16 when he got leprosy, and he was stated in the video that I'll probably die before the age of 30. And so that's not a long time span, about 15, 20 years. So he could have been king at a very young age. But he was going to be king anyway. So, and it's like, well, maybe somebody tried to kill him, but he's young, and they were plotting for him to die anyway. So. Did other characters in the video help promote progress towards independence for the character for the king? Yes. His sister treated him like a good brother, treated him like a good king, and the king had a good relationship with the main character, Balian. Balian was brought in to help fight for the kingdom of Jerusalem, to help fight for the city. They didn't want to lose the holy city, even though they eventually lost it to the Muslims. But he brought in Balian and he said, you know, I want you to defend the city, and I want you to do it in truth, and I want you to be good, and I want you to protect the people. And that's exactly what he did. And he respected him as a king. He never once said anything about his leprosy. Even though when he first saw him, he did kind of look at him like, oh, wow, you really do have leprosy. You're covered. But after that first initial look at him, and then he was the king. So I can't say that they really did anything to really promote independence, but they definitely did not do anything to deter him from him being the king and what he needed to do. How did I feel about this video? I liked it. I'm glad that I stepped outside of my comfort zone to watch something that I normally would not, and to do it for an assignment and to try to talk intelligently about it. This has been a hard task, but I like it because without this assignment, I would have never watched Kingdom of Heaven. I would have never known there was a king that had leprosy. And also, I wouldn't know as much as I do now about the Crusades and about the overtaking of Jerusalem, and also that who controls the land to this day is quite elusive. So I've learned a lot. The parts that I particularly like in the video is how the main character, Balian, was always true to himself, no matter what. Even when he could have married the king's sister and they decided they would kill the bad man, even though he could have done a little bad to create a whole lot of good, he decided to do no bad and deal with the consequences. That takes a lot of integrity. So I particularly like that part. The fighting, not so much. But as far as the characters themselves and who they were portrayed by, like Liam Neeson, the lead man from Taken 1, 2, and 3, he was the main character's father. So I know that he's portrayed very well in movies. So to see him again in a movie in this type of setting, historical fiction, it was great. I like that. Things that I disliked, the only thing that I disliked was that with historical fiction, a lot of the times, they don't give you a good picture. They don't give you a lot of background information. They just expect you to know the history. That's the only thing I don't like about these movies. If I could just get a little more background information and say, you know, this is what's going on. Just maybe like some words scrolling down, paragraphs, explaining, setting it up for me. Because I had to do some research. That's what I did dislike. What did you enjoy about this video? I enjoyed the fact that I stepped outside of my comfort zone and I learned something new. It would have been easy for me to pick something that I've already seen or something that most people talk about. But when I asked around, have you seen Kingdom of Heaven? Have you seen Kingdom? I was like, no, I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it, but I know what it's about. So I like the fact, again, particularly about this video, it's historical fiction, which is something that at times cannot be popular. Did the film serve to educate others or raise awareness about this disability? I guess it depends on the person. There was some awareness brought to it as far as what the disease actually does. Because when the prince died, the sister did take off his mask and it revealed his true face. And it was pretty horrendous. I didn't think they would show his face. Even though when you first see the mask, you think, is he going to take it off? Are we going to see his skin? At one point when he beat a man, he did take off one of his gloves. But when she removed the mask, and when I saw his face, it gave me some idea of what leprosy could actually do. His face was very disfigured. It looks like his face had been eaten alive. It was disfigured. You could tell it was a face, but only because he had teeth and eyes. So it was, so that could raise awareness as of how detrimental the disease could be to the skin. So I think I've answered all of the questions. I'm sure I have. And I just want to say the one thing that I have learned from this, and one thing that I've taken from it, is that stepping outside of your comfort zone and taking a risk can have great gains. Because I have learned more about history. I've learned about leprosy. I've seen how it can be depicted and what it could actually do to your skin. But I've also seen how, even though he had leprosy, which is one of the most shunned diseases or disorders in that day, he was still the king, and he ruled gracefully. I think sometimes it takes for us to be beaten down, for us to be limited, for us to be handicapped or disabled, for us to really appreciate everyone's true self, to really appreciate how beautiful everyone is, how to help us to not take for granted what we already have. So that's my summary of the video by answering the questions, and I thank Dr. Gardner for the opportunity to watch a movie that I've never seen and to directly relate it to special needs. Thanks.